Beautiful music happening here on Power Breakfast, and of course interesting discussions as always. Today we are talking about a hot topic issue that I hope that you'll be contributing on if you're watching us and are on social media. We're talking about intermarriage amongst tribes in Kenya in the year 2016. We're taking, note of that and seeing what the state currently is, where we've come from, where we are, and where we are headed. So I've got some guests to discuss this with me in studio today. Fidi Mwachala, welcome to the show, looking lovely. Odipo, thanks for joining me this morning. So both of you married, not to each other, but to people of different tribes. So I just want to hear a little bit about your experience. I think, where we stand with this issue in 2016 starts in the home with the parents. Did you face any pressure? We'll start with you, Fidi, getting married to someone of a different tribe.
For me, no, I didn't get any pressure. I'm thankful. Like, I come from a family that is diverse, and my parents were very accepting, like extremely accepting, and I'm grateful about that. And my husband, Peter, also didn't get any pressures. Wow. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good to hear that story. Odipo, what was your experience getting married?
Honestly, I believe that many, if not all, parents who have stereotypes in relation to tribes should pick a leaf from the family that I married into, because they were too good to be true. The fairy tale kind of like parents, the wish list. I wish my mother-in-law was like this. I wish my father-in-law was like this. I got that whole wish list.
Wow.
Although we have heard of very many sad stories that are not the same as Fidi and I.
Yeah, and I think your stories speak of, a new and different generation that, we are faced with right now, where people are more forward-thinking, I feel like, in this day and age. And yes, there has been parental pressure, there's been societal pressure, and, different stories that we've heard, where people come and put their foot down and say, I love this person, I don't care what you think, I don't care, what you think of them, their family, their tribe, I'm going to go forward with that. Is that where you see us going as a nation?
I believe so, because if you look like intermarriage, for the last generations, it's becoming more and more and more common, I can say, and some parents are they become more open-minded, and they let and they trust their kids that they can make the decisions that they're making. Though we can't avoid the fact that there are people who are still so rooted in that. And I guess most of the time it's fear of the unknown. Like, you want your daughter to get married to the tribe that you are, so that you feel comfortable, because you know your cultures, you know your values. The moment they get married to another culture, fear of the unknown comes in, and they're like, no, why don't you get married in this culture? So I feel like as the years go by, people tend to open up, and it is us, our generation, that will create that. Like, for example, I'm married to a different tribe, my kids will be bicultural, so most likely they'll intermarry with each other. So I believe as we go on, yes.
Odipo, where do you think that comes from? Is it stereotypes, prejudice? I mean, where is this all rooted in, where people get to the point of, about to be married, and they fear for what's going to be the repercussions within their family or in society?
I believe it stems from the hurt, not their own, but someone else's. How I have seen stereotypes against tribes come in is very interesting. You will find that a great grand someone went to borrow salt one day from a neighbor who happened to be from another tribe, and the neighbor had the salt, yes, but he or she refused to give them the salt, and it happened once or twice or thrice, and this particular great grand someone happened to eat food without salt, and ended up really vexed and really hurt by the actions of that particular individual. Now what happened is that particular hurt, he or she transcended it into the children, and it stems from one generation to another, to another, to another, to another, so that you find that by this current generation, where someone wants to marry and then the parent tells them that, by the way, you shouldn't marry from that particular tribe
because of...
Yes, when they ask why, there's no reason given that is solid enough to warrant such a decree. It's judgment passed without a fair trial, if I may ask. So the origin of it, you might find, is something so minute, but it has been blown out of proportion because it has gone from generation to generation,
over the course of
and it
time.
becomes a blanket stereotype.
Yes. Well, now that we've established your families were fine with you marrying people outside of your tribe, were any of your friends or associates, colleagues, wondering what you were doing marrying outside of your tribe? Did you face pressure from anywhere in society, if not your parents?
For me, I can say maybe from myself.
Okay.
Because when I was growing up, I had this thing in my mind that I'll never get married to a Kikuyu. You see?
Okay.
I was like, no, never. Because I had this notion that it was put in my head that Kikuyus, they just provide, they don't have the quality aspect when it comes to marriage. They just provide and that's it. So I was like, no, I don't need that in my future. Like, so it's so funny that is what, like, I was my own barrier.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are things that you just heard growing up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I'm glad, like, when I met him and the whole thing just vanished, and I'm glad that I can just say that it was wrong to stereotype, because he has proved so many Kikuyus wrong. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Individual experience obviously makes that difference, which is great. Odipo, did you have any societal pressure, your friends, people outside of your family, you know, asking you, why don't you go and get a woman from wherever it is that you're from?
Yes, I had a few. I call them funny cousins. You know, honestly,
Funny
cousins. Yeah, I had a few funny cousins who they were happy I was getting married, but when they discovered I was marrying outside the tribe, I come from Western Province, that became a oh, okay. You know, someone tells, I'm so happy you're getting married, and then you tell them the full name of your wife. They, oh. You know,
that's not awkward.
and that for me was very sad, because I believe it's very archaic kind of thinking, because I was just talking to Fidi when we were seated at the lobby, and it came to a realization that, you see, people are treating human beings like animals. You see how a cat would behave, a cat of a certain breed would behave in Kenya. Chances are it's the same way that particular cat would behave, or a relative of that cat would behave in China or India. Because it's a cat. They're built like that. They come with an already existing operating system. But human beings are not like that. How a human being would behave here, chances are it's not the same way that the same human being, or rather the same species, would behave in another place, because human beings are one of the few, if not the only, creatures who are built to adapt. Okay? And it all depends on the environment that we are exposed to. So just because one particular person has done something and the operating system that they have in them is slightly off, it doesn't mean that me as an individual I have to blanket or I put a stereotype to the rest of the species who are under that particular generation.
I like that idea. We're free to adapt and think on our own and sort of move forward. Was there any concern from you that your tribal heritage would be lost in the mix? Because proponents of people who want, you know, all of us to marry within our tribe say you are diluting the, you know, the system and the tribe. Did you ever experience that?
Not really. It's just that when you, like for me, when you get married, you tend to follow and adhere to most of the cultures from your man's side. So for me, I can say not really losing it, but you tend to miss some of those, like, traditional and functions and stuff like that, and you tend to follow your man's cultures and values.
But you personally don't feel like you've lost part of your heritage by being married outside of your tribe?
Not really.
What about you, Odipo? Do you feel like anything has been watered down in this process?
No, I actually feel that it has been made better. Because marriage is a union between two people who are coming together not to compete, but generally to complement. Okay? And when it comes to complementing, to me, I equate complementing to innovation. Okay? Basically, making better that which already exists. And if you look at my culture and my values, okay, they are already established and they're already strong, okay, which is very good. And then my wife's culture and just general traditions are also very strong and very good. So when we excuse me, when we come together, the only thing that we can be able to do if we choose to work at our marriage positively is to make each other better, innovating that which has already been invented, making it gooder, if I may if I may use wrong English. But at the end of the day, I believe that it has been made better, because our children will have the best of both worlds. Okay, hence therefore we'll be depositing in our children something that both of us did not have, because I have something, she has something, but the child will have everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of children, I don't know if you have, either of you have children. Yeah. What's the mother tongue situation? That's another thing that comes up. Well, which language do they speak? Do they speak either? Do they just speak Swahili? What happens with that?
On my case, it's just Swahili.
Okay.
Yeah, because by the way, I have a problem. Like, I can't really, I'm trying to learn some Kikuyu, and it's been a challenge. But at least for my husband, he's grasping some Taita. So, but basically the main language, English and Swahili in the house. Yeah.
And yourself, Odipo?
Well, I don't yet.
Okay.
I don't yet have any children. But when it comes to the mother tongue situation, I don't see it being any form of a problem. At the end of the day, the children will... What will be the benefits of them learning the language that they choose to learn? That's how we should look at it when it comes to parents. Because most of the time that, or rather the older generations, they wanted their children to learn their tribe, one, because of communication purposes, and secondly, because of pride. Okay, it's a sense of pride.
Yeah.
Okay, but in this day and age, when it comes to teaching your children the proper language to use in order for them to be able to communicate adequately, I'd rather my kids learn Chinese, okay, than struggle to learn mother tongue. And my wife and I, we're not very strong in our mother tongues. I've actually never heard my wife speak her mother tongue.
Really?
Yes. I've never have a full conversation with someone, but does it make her any less of a woman? No, not by a square inch. You know, but she can be able to communicate, and she's able to have an impact in society without the mother tongue. So the relevant language to be learnt by our children is what I believe that they need to know.
What serves them better?
What serves them better?
That's an interesting story, because when I grew up partly abroad when I was younger, and my parents taught me Kamba before even Swahili.
Wow.
They said when you go back, you have to learn how to communicate with your shushu. So you can be there, you know, not understanding. And what do you say to that effect of, you know, your kids need to be able to communicate when they go to shags or something like that?
Good. Now, to that effect, for instance, my children's grandparents are all graduates.
Wow. Okay.
So when it comes to communication, they will actually be of greater help, and they will communicate more with their grandparents if they learn Swahili and English and very little mother tongue, because their parents are learned people. Okay, they are sharp. Okay, and at the end of the day, if I strain them to learn a language that even I am not very conversant with, I think that will be slightly unfair. But for me, I'm fortunate enough to when I have children that their grandparents are very good, and they love talking English. And I think that also what spoiled me a bit, because I had grandparents who are very sharp in English. You know, my grandfather loved talking English every time. Yes. So for me it works to my advantage. But if it so happens that there's someone watching and then they see that the communication will be better with their grandparents, the children will communicate better with their grandparents in mother tongue, by all means, teach your child mother tongue. It still boils down to the aspect of how will that which I am teaching my children benefit them in terms of language.
Interesting. What's your experience with your children and their grandparents?
I have no problem. My parents are also learned. and my in-laws also speak like fluent Kiswahili. So my kids don't have a problem like communicating when they go to Shagu. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, you guys have very, very unique experiences here. But going forward, do you think we are going to turn into sort of a melting pot of tribes? There are people watching who are saying never in 1,000 years is that ever going to happen. This is Kenya. We have 42 tribes or whatever it is, and we need to maintain our heritage. Do you think that will at some point happen? That we will all kind of merge as one and just be Kenyans rather than thinking of tribe first?
I think we will, maybe it will come to that point, and I don't see, like on my view, I don't see anything wrong with that, because we are all Kenyans. People are just putting, oh, this tribe, oh, that tribe, but it all comes down to an individual, how you interact with that person, how. So I believe, like, even if we come to that port where everything is in, as long as we still have the cultures that we hold as Kenyans, I don't think there's really, because the more we say, oh, this is a Kikuyu, oh, this is a Luo, oh, this, we tend to go like far apart than come closer together. Yeah, that's my point.
I mean, we're going into a political year, and when we talk about Kenyan politics, you can't talk about Kenyan politics without talking about, you know, tribalism and things like that. And I just wonder, Odipo, do you think there will ever come a time when that won't be the default setting of who you're going to vote for, or, you know, where your allegiance stands?
Yes, eventually we will, because I believe we are stepping into a dispensation where the tribal energy, or the tribal bile is reducing by the day. For instance, 6 generations ago, intertribal marriages were almost unheard of, you know, and they keep increasing by any generation. And the question I usually ask myself at a personal level when it comes to intertribalism is the why. What is the why? Okay, a friend of mine, Dr. Wale, taught me something very interesting. Gave me a very interesting story once upon a time. Said that there was once a newly married bride, and she was cooking fish for the husband. So what happened is she cut the fish into half and then cooked it. And then the husband inquired, why are you cutting the fish into half? You know, and she said, because my mother does it. Okay. Fortunately, the mother was alive. So they went and asked, Mom, how come you cut the fish into half? She said, because my mother did it. You know, the grandmother was alive. And fortunately, the grandmother was alive, and even the great-grandmother was alive. So it was because my mother did it, my mother did it. When they went to the great-grandmother, she simply told them, I had a small pan. That's why I cut the fish into half.
Well, we didn't see that going there.
Yes, I had a small. So
interesting.
This third generation lady was doing what the grandmother was doing, but the grandmother had a reason for it. But this particular lady had no idea. Okay, and it's the same when it comes to stereotypes and when it comes to tribalism. Most of the people who actually subscribe to the whole, oh, I will never, ever, ever marry someone from this particular tribe. When you sit down with them and just ask them logically, reasons as to why you choose not to do this, they will honestly not have anything solid, but it might stem to, because my father, because my mother, because my auntie, because my... And it all stems down to what one individual said or did. Now, when we're heading towards the future, we are reducing that, because we as young people are coming up with more reasons to ask the why. You know, what is the why? What is the why? And the more the why loses the strength, the more the tribalism bile reduces. One day, eventually, we pray to God that it will actually disappear. And we'll all become one. And this thing of, it is now our time to eat. You know, that one, it's actually explained very well in Chinua Achebe's book, A Man of the People. Very interesting set book. And that concept of, it is now our time to eat. Who is our?
Who is us?
Yes, who is us? Who is us? You know, what do you have to bring to the table? Leave this nonsense of us. What do you have as an individual? Then someone say, no, it is we. Who's we? Yes, so we are heading in a step in the right direction. It's about time we start thinking along those lines. And of course, this has been a very eye-opening conversation, and you guys have brought a refreshing view to this. But just in conclusion, maybe, you know, there might be people who haven't had experiences such as yours watching
and they are going through tough times with family, with parents. They have some of those doubting cousins, and you know, asking them, you know, what are you doing by falling in love with someone of you know, a different tribe? How would you encourage them, or you know, advise them to approach that situation?
I believe, as in, love is the only thing that can, you know, can go over boundaries, yeah. And I have a friend who is marrying from another tribe, and she's having a very hard time. Like, the parents don't want to accept the fiancé, and all I can say is that, or all I can ask is that, parents, please, you know, let us be and let us marry whoever we want to marry. Trust us enough that we can make this decision, because just, there's nothing important as getting someone that you really connect with, someone you can be like real with. So if you get someone whom you truly love, no matter which tribe he or she comes from, as in, the parents should be happy for you because you are happy. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Adi, for your final words?
Camera or
which camera?
Which one? This one. You know, when it comes to marriage, and when it comes to whenever, if you happen to be facing some kind of objection or some kind of frustration in relation just because of tribe, ask yourself, as I have mentioned, the why. What is the why? What is the reason as to why these particular relatives, these particular people are telling you not to marry from that particular tribe? But it is more important for you to understand the why and make a decision based on your own wisdom, knowledge and understanding, other than what other people are saying. You'll be shocked that the stereotype that is formed because of, or the stereotype that is formed that is causing you not to get married to this particular individual stems down to 5 generations, and it all began with salt. It all began with sugar. So you're not marrying someone because your great-great-great-great-grandparent was not given salt. Does that even sound realistic? It is high time that we get out of this cocoon of tribalism and not engaging in marriages and breaking up relationships based on stereotypes that have been formed because of an individual's mistake. Treat individuals as individuals and don't blanket statement, and use love as a benchmark, which is very good, because love is like blood donation. It doesn't know tribes, it doesn't know race, it cuts across the board, and it would be wiser for you not to break your marriage or engagement or friendship based on tribalism.
I love it so much. I couldn't have said it better myself. Odipo and PD, thank you for being here. A breath of fresh air, and I think the future of where we're going as a nation. You've proven to a lot of people that this can be done, cutting across tribal lines. And as you've heard, ask the questions, why? And you know, each experience is different and unique in itself. So if you've been following the conversation on social media, the hashtag is PowerBreakfast with any of your feedback. Thanks again, guys, for being here. We're going to have a little music from the band right now before we wind up.